All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual fighting in the headline attraction for the December 20th BKFC Fight Night event, and a very intriguing heavyweight matchup, big divisional implications at stake here as Josh Copeland knuckles up and toes the line against my guest on Bare Knuckle Bowker today, Parker Porter. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm doing well. Just seems like a lot of great things going on for you right now, like the rise of Heavy Hitters Fight Club and stuff, or Heavy Hitters Club rather, and just seeing
Yep.
the waves it's already making and stuff like that. So yeah, people in the New Britain area would seem like they should be going over there to check that out, eh?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. We're going to be making some big moves, especially starting in January. I'll be able to be there full time. So we'll be adding some day classes, working on getting some kids programs going. We've got a good solid foundation to our fight team started already. And I think you can expect 2026 to be a really good year for the gym in general.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. It seems like just very exciting times for you in general. And obviously, this next fight fits within that in like the competitive kind of sense. But that being said, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on the last one. I mean, quite the emphatic win in June against one of the more stalwart, established heavyweight contenders BKFC has had. And Dillon Cleckler and getting that opening round finish and everything. Just what are the main takeaways from that one? That would seem like a big win for you.
I mean, obviously the big win is, I won, and I won by KO in the first round. It was just that much more of an enjoyable experience because it was also on my twins' birthday. So they were in the house for the first time. They've never actually been present for one of my fights. So they were there for their 12th birthday, and then the next day was Father's Day. So that just made the entire thing pretty sweet. But the big takeaway that I had from it for myself was performance wise, kind of keep doing everything that I have been doing, but don't get too overexcited. When he dropped me in that first exchange, it was partly because I got overextended, overexcited, started trying to force things that weren't there. I overreached, and he tagged me and it evaded perfectly, flawlessly. So hats off to him when he dropped me. And just, thankfully for me, it wasn't enough to finish the fight.
I guess it shows your composure and I guess the ability to like pull it back thereafter and then still end up getting, an emphatic first round win and everything after being dropped yourself. I mean, that has to impart a certain something, like obviously in terms of the, composure component of not overextending, it seemed to impart that to you. But I mean, probably somebody to be taken away from that, just being able to, I guess, course correct and still pull out the win after that happened.
Yeah, yeah. It's when you get to a certain level in any combat sport, it's no longer really specifically about your specific skill set and what you know. It's more about your ability to problem solve and do it as quickly as possible. Because you always come into things with some kind of a game plan, but it's your opponent's job to make sure that you can't implement your game plan to a T. And it's your job to try and make sure that you can. But when you can't, you have to make those adjustments on the fly and do them rapidly.
But it's just like such a quick ascent in a certain regard. Like I feel like you very, rapidly asserted yourself on the heavyweight landscape and now finding yourself in the rankings hierarchy and fighting ranked contenders. I mean, how does it feel? Like, is it something that is, I'm trying to find a way to phrase the sentiment, I suppose. Like, is it almost like oh wow, it's cool that I'm already in these kind of conversations and this sort of part of the hierarchy? Or was this a sport where you always kind of figured there would be that, I guess, aptitude and upward mobility component for it anyway?
I definitely thought there would be the potential to rise. I just didn't think it would be the opportunity to rise as quickly would be there. But I'm feeling more and more confident about it, and it's one of those things where I don't feel that I I don't feel that I haven't earned to be where I'm at. I've paid my dues. I've proven myself. I've proven my abilities. I'm willing to prove my abilities at anybody, up against anybody in the division on my way to getting after that belt.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just feel like you asserted yourself so quickly. Like you haven't even been competing under the promotional banner for a full calendar year and already situated nicely in the division, being in that number 4 spot and everything like that. So, yeah, just no exciting times and whatnot. And I feel like Copeland is a
Yeah, it
stalwart.
feels it feels great. It feels great. It feels awesome to be there. It's like if that's what you're kind of looking for, you're like, yeah, I feel awesome. I feel amazing. It's finally one of those kind of like, oh shit, I made it kind of moments. I'm one of the big dogs in the division, whereas previously with the UFC, it was always like, I'm in a good division, but ranked, never was able to push past. And part of it was that I was never able to see myself there from my own personal vision. Whereas with the BKFC, with the specific skill set and tenacity that I have, I can see myself being a champion, and that's what I'm going after.
And I guess there's a certain proximity component with the championship belt and this fight in a way. Just I feel like Josh Copeland gave Ben Rothwell, in a relative sense, one of his tougher tests in BKFC. So if you get an emphatic win over someone like Copeland, I would think it would really behoove those title shot aspirations.
I would say so, and I would hope so. I could see, with an emphatic win, I could totally see a title fight between me and Ben coming up in the next year.
I guess it is interesting to see how that all shakes out too, because like I know they've been touting talks of that big like $25 million tournament, and I would think that someone like Ben would be primed to participate in something like that, whereby maybe the title wouldn't be on the line through the tournament. I guess just to say there's a couple question marks and whatnot. I would think based on your demeanor that would be something you give much focus on. Maybe it's like outside noise, not something you preoccupy yourself with because it's not in your
Well,
direct control, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I guess would there
yeah,
be any kind of thought of like, oh, maybe the title will get tied up through that tournament and etc. Or is the thought almost like, oh, maybe I could punch my ticket to that big tournament and win
I
some
would
big
love to
money?
punch my ticket into that tournament. Like it's always, it's nothing with that tournament right now has been guaranteed. So it's always just kind of a background noise situation for me, and I'm just focused on the fight in front of me first. But I would 100% love to be jumping into that tournament. I just haven't heard much more noise about it, from anybody in the recent months. There was a really big announcement about it and how they signed a couple of other big names, and they were going to do this and do that, and then it just kind of feels like everything's been sort of radio silence for the last month or two about that, and nobody's heard anything more. So I'm hoping it's still going to happen. And if I know the guys at the BKFC, they're definitely working on making it happen. And I would love to throw my hat in the ring for that because I think it's just an amazing opportunity to be a part of combat sports history.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. I've also noticed the radio silence component to it as well. So I don't know. I guess I lean on the side of the hopeless optimist, like in the context of like, what a, great prize that could be for the prize fighters that would be in that tournament. But I guess just remains to be seen what shakes out with that. But to your point about, looking at the immediate task in front of you, like what are your thoughts on, I guess, just the X's and O's of what Copeland brings as a bare knuckle fighter? Like I referenced his Rothwell performance, which definitely stood out even in a loss, but still like a dogged determination shown throughout and everything like that. But yeah, just what are your thoughts on his skill set and resume in the BKFC?
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it right on the head. He's very tough. He's a tough dude. He can take a lot of damage. He can wear it well. And he's determined. Like he's gonna keep getting back up and keep getting back up. It's gonna be really tough to put him down and keep him down. I think I'm gonna be a little bit more technical and evasive. As we've seen in the first two fights that I put on, I love to put the pressure on. But I also, like I said earlier too, that I've learned from not getting overzealous and reckless with the pressure that I put on. So I think it's going to be an entertaining fight. I want to say it'll be another first round knockout, but I think that might be overzealous just because of his tenacity and overall durability. So I think this fight will probably go to like the second or third round before you see a finish.
I was gonna say, I feel like you're looking at my notes here. That was gonna be what I was gonna touch on, just considering your back-to-back first round finishes. But I mean, that could, I guess, grow the general game in a certain sense too, like insofar as getting those live competition rounds of what a second round or just the idea of getting beyond that first round would look like. And what you were saying, deep it or get deeper rather into the toolbox component of your skill set.
Right, right, and turn this more into a little bit of a technical match instead of just a good old fashioned brawl. I mean, he's definitely a scrappy guy, and I love to scrap. So, um, I got to kind of quell the brawler inside of me and try to make sure I stay more in the technical.
Yeah, no, for sure. And this is kind of like a random question, but I kind of thought this going through your Tapology ledger and recalling that you had fought Jailton Almeida in the UFC and just some of, I guess, the recent discourse about his performances, like his, I guess, Alexander Volkov fight, and I guess some of the comments Daniel Cormier made, like the hot mic moments that got caught in that Tom Aspinall video saying that Jailton Almeida doesn't have like a comprehensive, like well-rounded fighting style and stuff like that. Like, I guess, what do you make of that discourse? I feel like Almeida is a demonstrably effective ranked heavyweight, but I guess some people don't see the aesthetic pleasing component to his style as much. Like, do you have any particular thoughts on that discourse and everything like that?
So I think that's more just the difference between something like the BKFC versus the UFC. Like MMA as a whole, there's so many more ways to win a fight, and being an elite level grappler is a great way to put pressure on somebody and secure a win without taking too much damage. Whereas you don't really have that option as much unless you have great striking defense and head movement in the BKFC. And to the average spectator, unless you have a grappling background or knowledge base, it's not as entertaining to watch. So I think that's part of the reason that people get into it is like, everybody that's a deep rooted MMA fan and has some grappling knowledge can really appreciate the fast paced wrestling and the good control and the domination, especially when somebody's being active. I think the reason that people are saying that it's not as entertaining with Jelton, or he's not as well rounded, is because he's got a system that works and he keeps plugging it away, and it's not always super active. He puts pressure on you, he climbs, he finds his submission, and then he snipes you out with that submission. And to the average person, they want to see the big knockouts. They want to see the crazy, explosive ground and pound, where you don't see too much ground and pound even out of Jailton, even though he's as skilled with his top pressure as he is, because he's always looking for the finish with a submission.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at too. Like, I train on like a very hobbyist kind of level, but I can appreciate what he's doing and just like the, I guess, the technical acumen that would come with something like that. So yeah, I appreciate the quality of that answer. I figured you would be able to give that kind of in-depth sort of perspective to that, because I do feel like there is that, I guess, delineation point, I suppose you'd phrase it, where it's almost like you almost have to have a certain level of that direct jujitsu know how to understand like all the X's and O's of what he's doing and just how technical and just fatiguing and et cetera, that it can be.
Yeah, to be able to appreciate it, you have to have experienced it a little bit. Whereas to be able to appreciate the striking component of mixed martial arts or the BKFC, it's a lot more visual. You see a big punch, or you see somebody land a clean shot, and you see that guy's face like rattle around or his head snap back. You don't need to have been punched to know that that did some damage. Whereas or how fatiguing it is to, get punched or be on the defensive. Whereas with the grappling side of things, even just defending and just without seeing anything that looks like a significant amount of activity, from the experience of your own training sessions or even competitions, that even just the subtlest movements are draining, and there's so much pressure and tension going on there, and you're just exhausting yourself. Um, Grappling cardio is just a totally different animal, and if you've never experienced it, you wouldn't be able to appreciate the way that these guys are implementing it at that level.
Yeah, no, well said. I can't even imagine how he feels. It probably feels like a sentient boulder on top of you and everything like that. But
Yeah, yeah, he's heavy, man. He's got great pressure. Hats off to him.
but yeah, this was kind of something I wasn't really thinking to ask you, but I think it was inspired by you mentioning the, I guess, timeline for your Cleckler fight and how it like segued nicely into like Father's Day and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is going to segue nicely for you into Christmas. Like, you got a good little
It
rollout from
is.
this one too. What do you got going on for the holidays after this one? Obviously, Copeland is squarely in the purview, but what's going on in the Porter household thereafter?
I this might sound terrible, but I have most of the holiday plans have been made by my wife right now, and
Sure.
me mentally right now. The calendar doesn't go past December 20th, so I'm like, Christmas isn't even on my mind, other than the fact that like we got everything squared away and ready for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm like, where are we going? What are we doing? I'm gonna find all that out on.
No, that makes yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm very fortunate and thankful to have her behind me, backing me up and taking care of those things, especially with the time.
Yeah, and it seems like she's had a certain level of like compounded confidence with the bare knuckle. Like it seemed like in the debut she was like understandably so like more nervous, just the uncertainty piece. But it seems like she's gotten even more familiarized with what you're doing in like the bare knuckle specific sense. So it seems like a great person to have in many regards, just very understanding and etc.
A whole bunch. It's just like you said, the first bout of it, first time out with it. Not really 100% knowing what to expect, still having the confidence in my abilities, but just being like, oh, this is different. So I don't know, I'm not familiar with it. And then the support, the surge of support for the second go around of it versus Cleckler, and then it just continues to build and build. She gets more and more confident in me, and that makes me more and more confident, and allows me to dedicate more of myself to the training that I need to do to be at the best I can be.
Yeah, it's just cool because like I was kind of touting your, I guess, succinct, successful run already in BKFC so far. It seems like you're setting yourself up for a that much bigger 2026. Like it seems like you got a good rate of activity this calendar year. And yeah, it would seem like 2026. I mean, I guess to your point, the calendar doesn't go beyond December 20th, but I guess entertaining the idea you get your ideal outcome, it would seem like you'd be set up for a nice 2026. So it just seems like it's
Yeah,
an exciting time rather to be Parker Porter.
I'm very excited to be me right now. So I don't know if that sounds egotistical or not, but I'm very excited with everything.
No, not at all, man. You got a lot of cool stuff on the go. And yeah, it's been great getting to have you on and talk to you again and stuff like that, man. But yeah, I do want to be mindful of your time and it being the weekend and all. And thank you for talking close to the fight yet again, man. But yeah, I figured I'd give
Of
you the floor
course.
if you maybe had a final thought you wanted to add as we're wrapping up, man.
No, I just, this is going to be one of those fights you're not going to want to miss. If you enjoyed watching my first two fights, Copeland's got some wars that he's been through. He's a veteran of the MMA game as well. So I think this is an even more intriguing matchup than that we've had yet. I just want to say thank you to my coaches and my team at Thornton, Dan Frazick, all my members and supporters at the gym, Heavy Hitters Club. My strength and conditioning coaches, Alex Graffamino and Chris Williams over at Southpaw Athletics. And then if you're in the New Britain area, like we said in the beginning of the interview, we've got some big exciting things going on at Heavy Hitters. 2026 is going to be a big year. So stop in and see what we're going to be all about, and come get on this train and have some fun.
Yeah, no, it's exciting times, man, and great to see, great chopping it up again as well. And yeah, this Josh Copeland fight so exciting, and I'll certainly be tuning into December 20th for this BKFC Fight Night headliner. And I assume many of the bare knuckle fanatics will be doing the same. But again, to reiterate, thank you for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker today, and all the best with the remainder of the lead up into this fight here. I imagine probably tapering some things off and etc. But still, all the same, thank you for the time, and have a great rest of your day, Parker.
Thank you. Have a good one.